Hi again, everyone. This video is sponsored by contribution from April, and here's her story. Hi, Ollie. It's been a while since I've written in. The last video you did for me was the You Better Pick Up Narcissist. The topic I wanted to ask you and your subscribers is about is the effect of lifelong narcissistic abuse on physical and mental health. I'm not sure if you've done a video already that generally addresses this topic. I do recall your videos about personal experience with this issue and Charlene's experience as well. I've been struggling with weight problems, eating disorders, and excessive drinking my entire adult life. I was raised by parents with narcissistic tendencies, then I married a narcissistic abuser, who I ended up divorcing in 2015. I've had friends who are narcissists, and I work for a narcissist. I am drawn to these personality types, and I am now working to educate and reprogram myself to manage my relationship with narcissists, establish boundaries, and cut out the narcissists who are toxic and have caused damage in my life. I've used food and alcohol to cope with the pain I have experienced from relationships and toxic people. I have several health problems that have been exacerbated by the abuse that has been inflicted on me by my abusers. The mental and emotional pain I've suffered from the abuse has really taken a toll on me physically. I struggle with severe asthma and frequent respiratory infections, bronchitis, and sinus infections. It's not unusual for me to get sick 2 to 4 times per year for weeks or months at a time. I'm fighting a cold now. The last time I was sick was in 2015. It lasted 4 months. That was right around the time I was wrapping up the divorce. In the year since the divorce, I haven't been sick until now. To go a full year without being sick was a huge accomplishment for me. People who know me just feel bad for me, and people who don't know me just shake their heads in disbelief that anybody can get sick as much as I do. Throughout my marriage to my abuser, my asthma symptoms got worse over time, and I required more and more medication just to breathe. Since the divorce last year, my asthma symptoms have improved, and I require less medication than before. I can't say for sure, but I think it's because I don't have that stress in my life anymore. And I read that stress aggravates asthma. That's good news, and it does. And that stress after that divorce probably helped you stay healthy or fight off any type of lung or sinus infections. The bad news is I had my annual physical exam with my primary care physician on November 1st, and the next day I got a very rude awakening. The lab results were horrendous. My cholesterol is through the roof. The liver enzyme test was abnormal, and I have hypothyroidism. My doctor contacted me to discuss the severity of the issues, and immediately prescribed medication and strongly advised I get on an aggressive weight loss plan. She even asked me if I would consider weight loss surgery. I said no, and I told her I would lose the weight the old-fashioned way with diet and exercise. She was naturally skeptical, as I have been up and down with weight for many years. But my weight now is the worst it's ever been. Women generally don't disclose the number, but I'll admit to it. I was 225 pounds on November 1st. I should weigh about 125 to 135. I'm only 5'1". I asked her to give me some time to work on it, and we can revisit this at my follow-up appointment in 3 months. Wait a minute. Okay, so you're at worst 95 to 100 pounds overweight, and this doctor is bringing up surgery? That's insane. I don't even think you can do the surgery at that. You're not as big as you think you are. I mean, obviously you're heavy, you're overweight, but it's not healthy, but it's not at a weight where surgery is imminent, especially if you're having other issues. As I was sitting in her office listening to how fucked up I am health-wise, at first I was numb, and then I panicked. I couldn't help thinking, what have I done to myself? You see, I've been up and down with weight and on and off again with the drinking over the years. But for the past 2 years since I left the marriage, I've been on a mission to eat and drink myself to death. Not because I want to die, because I wanted to dull the pain. I just didn't give a shit anymore. I knew the whole time that I was self-sabotaging, but I didn't care. The overeating and excessive drinking was also about self-preservation because I felt that if I was fat, I wouldn't be tempted to date and set myself up to attract other narcissists. I know that sounds fucked. But in that moment in my doctor's office, it was like a switch was hit in my head where I said to myself, this is exactly what my ex wanted to have happen to me. He wants me to sink into depression and despair and kill myself with food and alcohol while he seeks newer and younger supply to feed his ego. I left my doctor's office determined to change my life. I have to. I don't have a choice because I will die young if I don't change. I'm 40. It's been almost 5 weeks now and I'm down 11 pounds and 5 weeks sober. I know it comes off quick in the beginning. I don't expect to maintain that pace, but I do believe I can do this even if it takes a couple of years. I remember the video you did about your own weight loss. You are strong and inspiration, an example to follow. A year from now, I hope to be off the cholesterol medication and feeling a whole lot better. I believe very firmly that my dysfunctional relationship with food and alcohol is directly attributable to my experiences with narcissists. I also believe my experiences with severe asthma symptoms and frequent infections is directly attributable to my experience with the narcissist. It's not that I think that every cold I get is because of a narcissist. People get sick all the time. It happens. I'm talking about people in my situation who spend 2 to 3 months out of every year fighting infections, which is not normal. I think the chronic stress of dealing with narcissists weakens our immune systems and makes abuse victims more susceptible to infections. I would be interested in your thoughts about the connection between narcissistic abuse and health problems, substance abuse, and eating disorders. In your opinion, do you believe there's a direct connection, or am I just looking to blame someone else for my problems? I would be interested in what your other subscribers have to say about this. I'm not talking about health problems stemming from poisoning, which I know has been discussed on the channel. I'm talking about physical health issues that occur or are made worse by mental and emotional effects of narcissistic abuse. I can't believe I'm the only one with these experiences. Thank you for taking the time to read this comment. I wish you and Charlene much happiness and success in 2017. April. Well, I mean, I've talked about this a lot, April, on my channel. And look, I had the same moment you did in the doctor's office, you know. I was 41 years old. I was 268 pounds. And early onset diabetes because I had sores on my legs that were bug bites that wouldn't heal. Everything was swollen. My blood pressure was through the roof. The doctor's like, you're going to die. You're about to become full diabetic. And I knew I could lose weight because I had done it before, and that was it. That was the switch. I didn't want to die. Of course, all this is related to your narcissistic abuse. Look, when you overeat, the reason you do it is because it's immediate supply. We're all needing something, whether, love, affection, acceptance. Okay, we all feel denied our entire lives. Always feeling denied. Food is an immediate satisfaction. So that's why we overeat. Because we have just such a hole in ourselves that we're trying to fill with either food or alcohol to numb the pain, or drugs to numb the pain. Whatever your addiction is dealing with this, you're filling a hole. That food and that alcohol is instant gratification, and the alcohol is the numbing. So you don't even have to deal with it. So you can get to that. That level where you can laugh and maybe feel normal. The problem with alcohol is the crash is horrendous. The crash is horrendous. I mean, I really dislike alcohol to begin with. For me, it's just not I could never be an alcoholic just because I just hate how it makes me feel. The high is so quick and the crash is so depressing. I I I could never personally be. I know I just can't. I mean, but I understand the numbing. I understand, you know, it's the gratification. Look, as someone whose weight has gone up and down, up and down, up and down, and finally I kind of got it under control. Look, every time I get the urge or I find myself overeating, I have to stop and I'm like, what am I really upset? What am I upset about here? I'm upset I don't see my kid. I'm upset for the life that, you know, I wanted, that I didn't even know I wanted, that I didn't have. All that regret, all that churning up your past and making sense of it, creates a hole, you know, and we're human. We got to try to fill it somehow. And food is such an instant gratification for us. You're so used to being told no your whole life that overeating is never being told no, is never being rejected. Even though you hate yourself while you're doing it, you still need that physical, it's an adrenaline rush of saying, I want this and I'm going to have it, even though you're not actually saying that. That's what your body is saying. That's what your subconscious is saying. Because that hole, that emptiness that was created by your abuse still needs to be filled with something. What does it need to be filled with? It needs to be filled with healthy relationships. It needs to be filled with what you always wanted to be and what you wanted to do with your life. It's supposed to be filled with loving, caring people who support you, and you support them, and it's mutual. That's what's missing. That's why you overeat. That's why people do drugs. That's because being no contact is hard, because you do need time on your own, to yourself. You do have these where you just want to wall yourself off from the world. And when you're walled off from the world, on one end, you're protecting yourself from it, but you're depriving yourself of what the world is, what needs to fill that hole. And because so many of us are introverts, that hole just doesn't get filled because of everything we've gone through. We don't want to go outside, but what's outside is the only thing that can be healthy enough to fill that hole. So when you're trapped inside and you have limited things, like, well, what are you going to do when you're an introvert like we are? What else are you going to do other than overeat or drink or do drugs or order shit online and hoard? Or these are all symptoms of people filling a hole that is, that can't be filled because we don't go outside much. We don't interact with the world much. Like you said, you think a part of you was doing it just so you didn't have to interact with the world. But in so doing it, the only thing that's going to fill that hole is in the world. Because that's what, as humans, we're biologically programmed to do. We're not programmed to live by ourselves. We're not programmed to be loners. It's not natural. But most of us have been so screwed with. That's what we become, because you get sick of looking. You get sick of being disappointed. You get sick of being hurt. And when you're hurt by the people closest to you, how do you trust anybody at that point? Especially when you come to the understanding of what narcissism is and how it works, it makes it all the more depressing. Like, wow, I didn't have a friggin' chance. So if I'm only putting this together now at 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, like, Jesus Christ, how do I deal with the world now? So no, I don't think you're making excuses for your own shortcomings, because your shortcomings are caused by your abuse. And you have to understand what the results of that abuse is making you into an introvert. And when you're an introvert, you have very limited access to fill that emptiness. So eventually you're going to have to venture out, you know, stick with the workout and losing the weight, because that's important. Because what's the point if you drop dead? That's what I said. What's the point of any of this? You know, and I was doing this channel for Aaron, and I'm like, well, what's the point of any of it if I just drop dead? So I hope that helps. Thank you again, April, for your contribution and your continued support. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the topic. Good luck with everything. If you need any help, please follow up with me. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any advice or opinions in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, or a narcissist you'd like me to expose, you know what to do with the PayPal and my email link in the description box. I will have the video right back to you. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon.